And y'all telling me that since last year of March, I only paid $5,000 towards my car?
I'm never buying a car for the rest of my life. I am not joking.
I don't want a new loan. I need gap. I'm in this loan.
All right, we're going to start this one off with a woman figuring out just how interest works, which is great. The only problem is she already bought a $100,000 vehicle. It may be something to look into before spending a small fortune.
Hey y'all, so I finally made it up to a point in my life where I set all my bills on Autopay, right? Yay me, I'm excited because I'm like, yeah, I ain't got to check, I ain't got to log in here, log in here, log in here. I ain't got to check here, check there, check here, check here to see if I made sure I pay this because, baby, listen, I will forget. So I got all my bills set up on Autopay so I don't have to worry about no bills not being paid, right? So something tells me to go check my car because I want to see how much I have paid on it since I had got it like last year, March, April, February, March, somewhere around that time, when I had got my BMW X5. So I checked my Capital One, which is, you know, who I got my van through, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, we almost halfway there, almost done. But I signed in to check my BMW, and it said I only paid $5,000.
Autopay is great. I have mine set to make the minimum payment just in case I happen to forget. I still pay the balances off every month in full. Lately it's been weekly, but I have it set to make the minimum, so I do have to go in and check. I want to see if there's any charges that shouldn't be there, and I've caught a few. Autopay is only the backup. If she did the same thing, she would have realized this a long time ago.
I'm like, no, I'm being scammed. Because not only am I on Autopay, but I'm paying I'm paying $19.93, which is a hell of a lot, right? I know. That was the stupidest thing I ever done. But anyways, I'm paying $19.93 a month for my BMW X5, and y'all telling me that since last year of March I only paid $5,000 towards my car?
It's another person that doesn't understand how interest works, but is willing to sign a contract for a $100,000 loan. Signing your name is saying you understand the terms and conditions, and agreed to pay back the amount you borrowed plus the interest. We're not talking about anything complicated here, it's basic middle school math. But somehow when it comes to a car loan and credit cards, nobody is able to figure it out until it's too late.
So I'm on chat like, y'all can have this thing back, because y'all ain't about to scam me no more. I'm not about to pay another year of $19.93 a month. And it seems like it's not going towards nothing but interest. Like, it's not going towards the payment. It's not going to... Listen, I don't know. I don't know. I made it to the point in life where I started making money, and I had a lot of dumb decisions, and I'm still learning, still growing, and I'm learning. But that was the dumbest mistake ever. But I'm here to tell you, y'all can have that car back. I will willfully bring the car back to the parking lot so y'all can have it. On my mama, on my soul, I'm not even playing. Because how have I had it for damn near, it's been a year now. And you telling me I only paid $5,000?
It's great she figured out financing can be very expensive. She probably won't make that mistake again, hopefully not. But her solution to the problem is worse than the problem itself. Giving the car back doesn't solve anything, it makes it worse. Just because you didn't take the time to understand the contract you were signing doesn't mean you get to back out of it. This, of course, will be the next lesson she learns.
I'm never buying a car for the rest of my life. I am not joking. I, as an individual, will never purchase a car for the rest of my life. I have spent over a month dealing with terrible, awful salesmen. Literally awful. It's the summertime. Some of these guys won't even turn on the car and the air conditioning for you. Mind you, these are $60,000 to $80,000 vehicles that I'm looking to purchase and being treated like dirt.
If I'm looking at buying a car, I'm considering spending $60,000, $80,000. I'm just going to turn on that AC. I'm not even going to ask. But I've never met a salesman like she's saying. It's always been the opposite. They're pushing you to try out everything and pretending they're your best friend.
But no, even if you make it through and get one good salesperson, you know who's really gonna make you wanna? The finance manager! I have already gotten in 2 different arguments with 2 different finance managers. And before you think I'm the problem, let me explain to you how both interactions went. Decide on the car, agree to the purchase price, finance manager comes over. First thing he does is try to convince me that I have bad credit and that I will not get approved for this loan. And you know why he did that?
Because you have bad credit. I'm trying to be as nice as I can, but she's making it difficult. If a finance manager told me I had bad credit, I'd pull my report. Every vehicle I've bought in the past, I went in knowing my score. Getting into multiple arguments over it makes me think she's the problem. Of course, they want to make money, but if you're getting a bad rate, you just move on. There are plenty of dealers out there that would be happy to help somebody make a purchase.
Because he wants me to accept a higher interest rate because he gets paid more. So I said no, and I stood firm, and I said run it. Run it with my name, run it with all my info, and if I don't get approved, I don't get approved. To what I told you, the man was enraged. Because why? Because these are their tactics. The other finance manager is also peeved at me because I would not agree to an extended warranty. This man made me sit in his office for over an hour while he explained every detail of the extended warranty, to which I replied every single time, I don't want it.
She seems to have a problem with everyone. I'm pretty sure she's the issue. She probably went in there with that attitude she's got and they just don't want to work with her. She's not polite or respectful. And just going by the video, she doesn't come across as very responsible. It's possible the salesman assumes she's broke. You know, I have my crazy beard. I don't spend much on my clothes. If I go into a dealership, they might think I'm homeless. It's not their fault and I'm not offended by it. I just show them I have a great income, an excellent credit score, and anyone would be happy to sell me a car.
I want to get Gap. Can I get Gap?
No, that's not how it works, my friend. This customer's been calling me all morning. Let me call him back to see what he wants.
Hello? Who is this, Ahmad?
Hey, yeah, how you doing, man? You're calling me all morning, bro. I was trying to sleep.
I'm doing good, Ahmad. I got into crash yesterday and...
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
but,
that, man. Are you okay? You doing good?
Yeah, bro, but the car is and the insurance tell me this morning. That's why I was calling you, because they tell me they don't cover the loan. They can't fully cover the loan, and I want to call because I remember I got Gap, so I want to use my Gap.
Let me see. You bought the car like 9 months ago, but I remember our interaction. Yeah, you did not purchase Gap insurance, and I remember you said you don't want any add-ons. You didn't want the Gap insurance because you seen a video saying that you don't have to get it.
Video? What video?
Besides the point, you don't have Gap insurance, brother. So yeah.
Okay, I want to get Gap. So can I get Gap?
No, that's not how it works, my friend. Gap has to be purchased the day of the purchase of the vehicle.
What do you mean? I want Gap and I can't get Gap?
So he's a little bit late to the party here. If it was only that easy, only pay for the insurance after you get into the accident. It sure would save a lot of money. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And I'm surprised anyone would think it did.
No, it doesn't work like that. You can't get Gap a year after you have the car.
It hasn't been a year. I bought the car a few months ago.
Yeah, whatever it is, brother. The Gap has to be purchased the same day you purchase the car.
No.
How much is going to be the gap between the loan amount and the amount that the insurance is covering?
Brother, it's too much. It's too much.
How much is it? It can't be a lot. You barely financed anything. What is it, like 5,000?
It's around there. It's 5,700.
Okay, brother,
It's
that's...
too much. I don't have that money.
You don't have to have that money. You can come in, take a look at some new cars. I wrote a...
But my friend is with me and he tells me you don't offer me Gap.
Brother,
I never
you
offered Gap.
offer Gap to every single one of my customers, and you signed a paper saying you do not want Gap insurance. So there's nothing that I can do. The only thing I can do is get you a great deal on a new loan. That's it.
I don't want a new loan. I need Gap. I'm in this loan.
Brother, you cannot add Gap insurance after the loan.
This is like trying to buy insurance for your home when the house is on fire. Gap is something you need before things go sideways. Gap is a safety net for the what if, not what already happened. If you could do that, every insurance company would be bankrupt.
I learned a very valuable lesson by making a very big financial mistake, which is, I guess, how all lessons are learned. I am still paying off a car that no longer works. I took out a car loan for $23,000 in 2021 because I thought because my first car that I had bought broke down on me, so I figured the newer the better, the more reliable. Wrong. That car started giving me trouble like 2 years in. It's a newer car, nobody could figure out what was wrong. As of November or December of last year, that car stopped officially working. If I were to be able to fix that car, I think I would be able to sell it for half. I'd consider myself lucky if I were able to sell it for half of what it cost me. Since that car stopped working for me, my boyfriend bought me this car that I am currently sitting in for $1,800 off of Facebook Marketplace. Obviously, it's an older car. It's not nice. It doesn't have CarPlay, but it takes me from point A to point B. I would never, ever take out a car loan again. Well, it would take a lot for me to take out a car loan again. To me, it's just not worth it. And now I understand why all those memes about rich people driving older cars than poor people driving newer cars, a car is the worst investment ever.
It's great she learned it at such a young age, but too bad she lost money. Hopefully this will save her a lot down the road. She realized she doesn't need a new car. An older car that's paid off does the exact same thing. And in this case, much better because it actually works, and now she gets to keep her money. An older paid off car beats a shiny new one with a payment every time.
I'm pretty much scared to death right now. I have a spouse that has a spending problem, and I've actually had to tuck some money away, just for mortgage. Basically, if it shows up in the bank account, it's like erased to zero.
How much do you make a year?
I make right at $260,000 a year.
Taxable income.
Taxable income.
And you have nothing.
Well, I have about $50,000 cash
That you've hidden from your wife.
$250,000 income and only $50,000 hidden from his wife. Now don't get me wrong, $50,000 is a lot of money, but with that income there should be a lot more. This is something I just could not deal with. I wouldn't want to be trying to save and invest while my spouse is doing the complete opposite.
Yes, but and the problem with that is that actually goes to my mortgage, because if the money's in the bank, if I actually left that money in there for that month, then the money wouldn't be there for the mortgage at the end of the month.
Okay, so when you sit and talking to her about this, that your lives are completely out of control and you're spending like you're freaking in Congress, what does she say?
She actually feels really bad about it. She knows that it's wrong. She cries. We've had the, come to Jesus talks. So,
okay. Is she seeing a counselor?
Not for this, but she
needs
does
to.
For depression.
I would be changing the accounts and making sure she didn't have access to them. If it's as bad as he said, and even she's upset about it, she needs a prepaid debit. Something she can't go over with a set budget. And like he said, some counseling. She's spending the money, but I'd be worried she could be taking out loans. That's something he would definitely have to look into. If she can't control herself, what would stop her from borrowing for this addiction?
She needs to. Oh! And if she's seeing a counselor for legitimate depression, and it's possible she's manic, that would explain this. In which case, you have to treat her as if she's got a mental issue, which she does. And that means she just has no access to money at all. Just open a new account. You manage the money because your wife is broken right now. And you care for her as if she's got a addiction, or as if she's got cancer, or as if she's got bipolar. And you take care of her until she walks through the healing process and is able to step back in and make an adult-like emotional contribution to this conversation.
Money is known as one of the leading causes of divorce. It's estimated that financial problems contribute to 20 to 40% of all divorces. That means that every 10 marriages that end in divorce, 4 of them are because of money. Around 41% of divorced Gen Xers, along with 29% of divorce boomers, state the reason their marriage ended was due to financial disagreements. I'm going to end the video here and ask you to hit that like and subscribe button, drop a comment below. We'll see you in the next one.